particularly excited to be here today. My name is Chinyere Ezigwe Adeyemo. I am a multiple award-winning knowledge entrepreneur and a digital product expert. I am excited to be sitting here today. This is actually our very first live session on YouTube, and I am particularly excited to be here. So as you join me, let me know who you are and where you are watching from. I would like to connect with you, okay? All right, so today we are looking at how to write a book like a pro, even when you are a beginner. I actually got this question and I decided to do a video to share with you how you can write your book like a pro, even though you are a beginner. All right, the interesting thing about writing your book is that whether you are a pro or a beginner, everyone should write books, because interestingly, in your area of expertise, you are an expert. So writing a book is just about documenting your expertise, your knowledge, your experience, and all of that in a book in order to serve the world. All right, so never feel that you are a beginner, therefore you might not be able to do it yourself. No, the important part is that you are able to get the information out of your head in black and white so that we can move on from there. All right, so I'm going to show you how to be able to move from having an idea to finally writing your book. All right, so please, as you join me, let me know who you are, where you are watching from. Okay, so there are a few questions or points that I would like to highlight as we journey on this subject. All right, so as you get them, please put them down so that you can go through them again and be able to do justice to your book writing journey. All right, so the first step is to ask yourself two questions. Now, the first question would be, what do you want to write about? You must first of all be clear about what you want to write about. You know, you can't just dabble into writing books when you are not clear about what you want to write about. So it could be anything from how to cook a pot of afang soup, to how to take care of a newborn, to how to write a book as a beginner, to how to keep accounts in your business, to whatever. So first of all, you must decide what you want to write about. Be very specific about it. You must be very specific about what you want to write about. Do you want to write about overcoming temptation? Do you want to write about building your home as a newly married? There are different subjects. Every subject is valid. So what is important is that you start by highlighting the particular subject you want to write about. So when I talk about what you want to write about, I'm talking about the message you're trying to pass across to your world, to your audience. What do you want people who read your book to take home? All right. Then the next question is, why do you want to write what you want to write about? For instance, my reason for doing this video on how to write a book like a pro, even when you are a beginner, is because somebody asked me, Coach Chinyere, please, as a beginner, how can I write a book? So I decided, oh, if this one person could ask this question, then there are many other people who probably need this information. Therefore, I am doing this video. So the question to you is, when you're thinking of writing a book, why do you want to do that? So it could be anything from because you want to impact your world, or because you want to position as an expert in that field, or because you want to make money by doing that. And all your reasons are valid. You get it? All your reasons are valid. So I could easily put up this video because I want to sell it. it is a valid reason. All right, I can as well do this video just so that, in fact, the more reason I do videos around book writing, apart from the fact that I am passionate about book writing and I want everyone to have books in their businesses because I know the relevance of books in a business. So apart from that reason, it could also be because I want to make money. It could also be because I want to position as an expert in that field and I want more people to know me, which is a valid reason. Or I want people, you know, to know that in this field I am the go-to person and you should do business with me. Any reason is valid. So you must have a reason for choosing to write on the subject that you choose to write about. All right, so you must let us know, you must be sure why you choose to write on that subject. Sorry, I had to put my phone on do not disturb so that I don't have calls coming in while we are on this video. All right, so 2 questions at the beginning. Number 1, what do you want to write about? Number 2, why do you want to write on the subject you are choosing to write about? When you have been able to establish this, then you are ready to move on to the next stage. All right, because these are the very 2 primary important questions that you must answer before moving to the next stage of trying to write your book. All right, so make sure your answers are strong enough, are compelling enough to keep you going. Because the truth is, when you are sure about what you want to write about, the reason you want to write that book is going to keep you motivated along the way. I've done this video before. I did a recorded version of this video, but for some reason I mistakenly deleted it on my system. So I had to now come live here to do this video because my reason for doing this video is very important. I want to help someone see how she can write her book even as a beginner. So my reason is making me redo this video even when it is not convenient for me. All right, so your why will keep you motivated on the journey. All right, so when you have established that background, then the next step will be to create a plan to actually start the writing process. All right, because of course if you do not plan, then you are planning to fail. So you must start planning. Okay, how am I going to start writing this book? Since I've discovered the topic, or I've decided on the topic I want to write, and I also know the reason why I want to write on this topic, then what is the next thing? Plan. Where am I going to be doing the writing? Am I going to be writing in the office? Will I be writing at home? Would I go to the library to do the writing? Where would I do the writing? All right. So the second thing, how am I going to be writing? Will I be typing on my laptop? Will I be typing on my phone? Would I be writing by hand? Or would I be voicing into an app that can transcribe what I am saying? So you must decide how that is going to happen, and you must go further to decide when it is going to be happening. Is it going to be happening while I am on break at work? Is it going to be happening at night when I return from work? I have an hour or 2 to spare for it. Or would I be doing it in the middle of the night? Is it going to be happening in the early hours of the morning? So you must decide when, and then you will decide how many hours you'll be investing into doing that. Would you be writing for 3 hours per day, or 2 hours, or 1 hour? So you decide all of that. So you are already creating a plan on how your book writing journey is going to progress. Okay, so don't joke about this. You must make sure that the place you're going to be writing is going to be conducive, where you will not be having distractions. All right, and make sure that the time you choose to write will be a time when you are refreshed, not when you are exhausted. Because if you say you're going to be writing in the evening when you come back from work, what is going to happen to your children or your husband if you're married? Or you should be sure of how things are going to be taken care of around you while you focus on writing your book. Because for me, for instance, when I'm tired, I find it difficult concentrating. So for you, how is it going to be? Okay, so you must decide that for yourself. All right. Then, of course, you create an outline. That is the third point. The third point, when you're considering writing your book, is you must create an outline. Your outline, simply put, is your table of contents. That is all what you will need to put into your book in order to make it a holistic experience for your readers, so that they can move from point A, where they have the problem or the challenge, to point B, where they have the transformational experience. All right. So you must be sure that in chapter 1, this is what I'm going to put there. Chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, to the 10th or 15th or 20th chapter, depending on how long your book is going to be. And these chapters must follow themselves sequentially, so that by the time your audience are done reading your book, they will be able to experience bits of transformation, to the point that by the time they are getting to the last chapter, they have holistically been transformed by the steps you have been able to take them through. So your outline basically is a framework of what you are going to cover in your book. All right, the process that you're going to take your audience through from point A, where they have the challenge, to point B, where they finally have that solution that you have promised them in your book. All right, so create your outline. Your outline is what will guide you as you start writing your book. So very, very important. So that is the third point in your book writing process, because of course, like I said, number 1, you answer 2 questions, which is your what and your why. Then number 2, you create a plan on how your journey, your book writing journey, is going to work. And then in the third point is creating an outline that will guide you on all the stop points that you will touch in order to help your customers get the holistic experience that you want for them. All right, then of course you move on, and then you give yourself a timeline. A timeline is the period that you're going to use to achieve this work that you want to achieve, that is writing your book. You give yourself a timeline. You can say to yourself that, okay, I want to write this book within 6 months, or I want to write this book within 1 year. You must give yourself a time, because if you don't give yourself a time, you might keep postponing, and before you know it, you finally don't write your book. So you must have a timeline. For my book, my latest book, You Owe the World a Book. You Owe the World a Book. I had to give myself a timeline, and I gave myself a timeline for 6 months to achieve the book writing process. So importantly, you must give yourself a timeline. Now, when you are creating your outline, and when you have looked at the different subjects or points you are going to touch in order to help your customers get that holistic experience, if there are 15, or let's say there are 12 of them, 12 chapters that you cover in order to help your customers get the holistic experience, if you are able to give yourself a timeline of 6 months, that means you are looking at 6 months divided by your 12 chapters. So you will divide your 12 chapters across your 6 months, so that you'll be able to now allocate the time that each chapter will take you to cover. All right. Now, before we go into that, before I break that further into details, I will go to the next point, which is deciding your content quality, your content quantity, I mean to say, because I will not talk about quality here, because the quality of your book, the quality of your content is non-negotiable. You can't negotiate that. So I'm not even going to overflog that, so that it is not even a subject. It is not something we are going to even discuss about, because if you are not going to come straight and give quality content in your book, then please don't even bother starting. All right. Don't even bother, because writing a book is not an easy journey. So what is the point of them writing a book that is not of great quality? So let's not even go into that. All right. So in this point now, we are talking about the quantity of your book. So if you decide that you want your book to be probably 100 pages, then that is what I mean by the quantity of your book. For instance, when I was writing my book, You Owe the World a Book, it is 140 something pages, 145 pages. When I decided to write this book, I wanted a book that somebody can sit down and read at a sitting. All right, so I had to compress the content of the book so that my audience can sit down and read it at a sitting. So what do you want? Do you want a book that people can read for weeks, or do you want a book that someone can pick up and reads one chapter and drops and comes back and read another chapter? So you will decide the quantity of your book. So that will guide you. So let's say you decide you are going to write 200 pages for your book. All right. So when you've decided you're going to write 200 pages, you now come back and look at your timeline, and then look at your outline. I told you I'm going to come back to this. So if in your outline you wrote that you wrote 12 chapters in your outline, then you've given yourself a time frame of 6 months to write your book. Then you realize that within 6 months, with 12 chapters, that means you are looking at 1 month to write 2 chapters of your book. All right, because if you have 6 and you divide 12 by 6, that means you are writing 2 chapters per month. Okay, then you are looking at 200 pages. If you're looking at 200 pages, that means you are looking at about 15 pages. Am I right? If you're looking, yeah, give or take about 15 pages per chapter. 15 pages per 10 chapters will give you 150 pages. So by 12 chapter will give you about 180 pages. So give or take around 16 pages per chapters. So if you now break it down like that, you now understand, okay, if I'm going to be writing 2 chapters per month, and each chapter is about 15 pages, that means in a month I'm looking at writing about 30 to 32 pages. Now when you have broken it like that, then you can begin to attack your book by little bits. Do you get the point? So if you now have finally come to the conclusion that monthly you have to write 2 chapters, and each of the chapters are about 15 to 16 pages, then you now know that in a month you now have about 30 to 32 pages to write, and in a month you have about 30 to 31 days. So you will then decide that, okay, daily I must be able to write at least 1 page. So you will then decide, is it convenient for you to write daily, or do you want to be writing 2-3 times in a week? Then if you decide that you'll be writing 2-3 times in a week, then how many pages would you be writing in those 2-3 times in a week, and how many hours would you take you to do that? So you see that you have already broken this big goal of writing your book into small bits of tasks that you can begin to attack daily, and before you know it, in 6 months you have finally truly written your book. All right, so I hope that is clear. Okay, so the next thing is you get to work, because by the time you've answered your what and why, and then you've created a plan to do the work, and then you have given yourself an outline, you have decided the quantity of your book, and then you've given yourself a timeline that in 6 months you're going to achieve this book writing journey, then the next thing is for you to throw yourself into the work. All right, the next thing is for you to throw yourself into the work. So that is why from the beginning in creating your plan, I asked, how are you going to be doing the writing? Are you going to be typing on your computer? Will you be typing on your phone? Would you be writing manually with your hand, or would you be voicing into an app into the actual writing of your book? Okay, because at this point, are you needing somebody to come and motivate you when you already know your why, when you can already see what awaits you on the other side of writing your book, when you can already your customers would celebrate you, thank you, appreciate you for helping them get the particular result that you have for them in your book. You can already see how it will position you as an expert in your field. You can already see how you will leave a legacy for your children and the next generation to come. You can already see the many beautiful things, the many beautiful experiences and testimonies that will follow your book after it is written. Then nobody should motivate you at this time. It is for you to throw yourself into the work and make sure that you are following up according to your plan. All right, very important. So there are different applications that can help you to do your voice to text, if that is the way that would work for you. You can use the Otter app, that is OTTER. It's the Otter app. You can download it into your phone so that you just talk into it, you speak into it, and it begins to transcribe what you want to write. Or you can even go to use the Smoothing website. That is a site where you can write on any topic without necessarily writing by yourself. But of course, this is a machine that is working for you. So by the time you input the topic you want to write on and the machine writes on that topic for you, you might need to, do some paraphrasing, rephrasing, and all of that. Okay, so you see, nowadays we have different ways of writing that is made easy, so you have no excuse but to go on and attack this project that is before you with all your energy. All right, so importantly, in your writing journey, you cannot take out the place of research, because research is something that will help you give meat, give substance to what you're writing on. Because when you do research, you get different perspectives on the subject you want to write on. You see what other authors have written on that subject. Then you can even see the gap that they didn't fill in their own writing, and you can begin to fill up that gap, so that you make your own book more holistic. So never underestimate the place of research in your book writing endeavor. All right, so when you're writing, when you throw yourself into the writing process, don't worry about being perfect at the initial stage, okay? Because you will always have time to self-edit. So first of all, what is important is that you get all the idea out of your head into your book, into black and white, into your phone, into your system, or whatever mode you are using in writing. Make sure you first of all get all the idea out. Then we go to the next point, which is the 8th point, and that is you edit your book. It is very important that you do the first editing yourself. Never make the mistake of just dumping everything from your mind and giving it to an editor, because there are parts of your book that by the time you have dumped everything out, you come back to it and you are now seeing it from the other angle. So at the time you were in the book dumping, but now you have dumped everything out of your head, and now you are out of it, and now you can stand out of it and really look at it and say, I think I need to add 1 or 2 things here. I think I need to take this off. So you do your self-editing yourself first. And while at the self-editing stage, you can use some of your your family and friends to also read your manuscript and give you feedback. Let you know, were you able to communicate? Were there gray areas that you needed to improve on? Were there other things that you could have added in the book that would have made it more holistic? That part of editing is very important. You cannot take for granted that the fact that you have done a great job. Feedbacks are good. You need feedback in whatever you're doing. So this feedback help you to reevaluate the content you have put together and see how you can tighten it further in order to help your audience get a better experience from reading your book. All right. So when you are done with that phase of editing, then that is when you begin to think of giving it out to a professional editor to finally do the editing work. But before I leave you, I would have to add this 9th point, which is make sure you use relevant stories in every chapter. Okay? Because except you are writing an autobiography, you may be writing a self-help book, an educational book, or a religious book also. It is important that you infuse stories into your self-help book, because I work a lot with authors who are writing self-help books. Okay, so when you are writing a self-help book, you don't just want to churn out educational content without examples of how these educational content are relevant or applicable in real life situations. Okay, so for instance, my first book was written in 2011, written and published in 2011, and before then it was after my first book that I knew about Association of Nigerian Authors and got to meeting other authors. So from that time, 2011 till today, I have made so many mistakes that to the point that when I look back, in fact, that is one of the reasons I decided to position in this writing industry to make sure that upcoming writers write the right books that position them for influence and then for income. Do you get the point? Because there are lots of writers today who have written books that they cannot market. Okay, they have written books that they cannot market, and the writing process is not cheap. Writing your book by itself is not cheap, not to talk of the publication of the book. It's not cheap. So I don't want people to write books that they cannot market, books that they will end up giving them out. So I decided, okay, I'm going to help writers to write the right books that strategically positions them in their industries, help them build their credibilities, and then increase their income. Okay, so what I am saying in effect is, as you have listened to me and listened to my story, you now understand where I am coming from and why I am doing what I am doing. So when you are writing your book, don't just go on to teach people, churn out educational content. Show them examples of how this thing that you are teaching is applicable. I told you that I wrote my last book, You Owe the World a Book, in less than 6 months. In fact, I had to get an accountability partner to hold me accountable to make sure that I achieve this. So when I say that you can write a book in 6 months, it is not something I'm talking from the top of my head. It is something that I have practiced, not just for myself, but for my customers too. So please use relevant examples when you are writing your book. Okay, so in chapter 1, when I asked you, why are you doing this, I also mentioned why I am doing what I am doing, so you can see about creating your plan, this is my office at home. This is where I write most of the time. So you can see that it is practical, okay? I could infuse that into that part, when I'm teaching. I infuse that so what I'm telling you is not something that I just thought about. All right, creating an outline, that is the very first thing I teach my authors, my intending authors, to do. So very practical. So make sure you have examples in every part of your book. All right, so when you are done with self-editing, getting feedback from friends and family, then it is time for you to go on and send your book to a professional editor. All right, so when we talk of professional editors, some of them may be the people you know, or people who it is their profession to do the editing. But don't just give your book to family and friends and feel that will do for it, except the family member or friend is a professional book editor, so that they can attack your book editing with professionalism and then help you come up with a good manuscript that is worth publishing, which by the time your audience read, they will get value for their money, instead of going through your book and they are seeing typographical errors and other kind of errors, structural errors and all of that. So I believe that by having listened to me today, you can already imagine yourself sitting down to write your book. All right, I am excited about that. I would like to hear your feedback. I would like to hear what you have learned. If you have any question, please feel free to send your question to me. And of course, I can do a video like this to help you get the desired experience or transformation that you need. Okay, so do have a beautiful day. I remain your coach, Coach Chinyere Ezigwe Adeyemo, and I would love to see you sometime soon again. Thank you very much, and do have a great day. Bye-bye.